Welcome, everybody. I second that point around this being kind of a intimate and open space to have a conversation. So it feels like that. Maybe not under the lights, but it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Sam Davies. I'm at KWP Partners. I think for me, though, this conversation is a really interesting one. I'd like it to be a conversation, like there's four of us up here on stage, but we're a small room, so something that we can all get involved with. I like these kind of small, intimate conversations where it isn't kind of a one-to-many. It is all of us here having a chat. Really interesting conversation in terms of the topic. This is something that impacts all of us. But thanks for Coop and Thomas for opening up the space tonight. This is cool. Hopefully there's more of these to come. So I will welcome everyone here on the stage tonight. So Jade, pleasure to meet you. We haven't actually met before, so nice to meet you. How's things? I have your official intro here, but I haven't actually met you before, so... maybe you tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm going off script already, so...
It's fine. So hi, everyone. I'm Jade. I guess what I would like to say is my legal name is Jade Torres. My skin name is Jade Kamari, and I guess that makes it pretty obvious that I am an Aboriginal woman. I am fourth generation Aboriginal. I say Aboriginal artist because I own an Aboriginal art gallery called Paroola Gallery. And I have the privilege of representing four generations of my family through there. My eldest great-grandmother is 104 years old and still painting for me. And that goes all the way down to my sister being the youngest, and she's 27. And my dad had a gallery before me for 30 years called Daku, so I followed his footsteps. So as a whole, in our family, we've been in the Aboriginal art industry for over 40 years.
Probably tonight, so nice to meet you.
Hello. Nice to meet you too, Sam. I am a publicist at Sassafras PR, Sarah Abbott. We work on lots of projects across lifestyle, hospitality and tourism in our state, including Illuminate Adelaide, which opens on Wednesday if you feel like getting out and about in our city in July.
I saw them out installing everything today, we have some stuff on our building, so it's cool to see.
Oh, do you know what you have, or is it a surprise?
No, I don't know.
Everything on Randall Street is great.
Dan, I do know.
You say that so miserably.
And Dan, I do know.
Hey, I was going to come across and give you a high five.
Dan didn't want to unbutton his shirt because he thought we might be wearing the same outfit.
Top up. My name's Dan. I run a company called More Space for Light. We're a strategy and innovation consultancy. We work with teams to help them build capability and increase their capacity to be able to look strategically 3, 5, 10 years into the future and get out of the day-to-day.
Beautiful. So we are here to talk about elevating authenticity in the age of AI. There's a lot of buzzwords in there. I'm really keen, before we get started off, like AI is something that is becoming, it's just washing through all our lives at the moment. You're all from different industries. Put your hand up if you think that this is something that has impacted your life in the last 12 months. Okay, that's fairly big consensus. What do you feel like, I can ask questions you can answer with your hands, is it going to have a bigger impact than it's had in the last 12 months in the next 12 months? Okay, and looking 2 years out, do you think that we're just at the cusp of something that's going to be quite monolithic in our lives, like the generational shift? Does people think this is going to be something really big, or is it another blockchain or another augmented reality that just sort of fizzles out? Big. I've been kind of surfing the wave of the technology and what's happening for the last couple of years, and I think the last 3 months it sort of really dawned on me that I heard a really nice analogy yesterday where imagine you're sitting in London in 1836 and it's the start of the Industrial Revolution. They've just built the railway from Manchester to London, and you're sitting in London being like, oh, what's this thing they've done with trains, and there's coal happening up there, and it doesn't feel like a thing yet. There's one railway track, but 5 years later, the lights were turned on in the UK, and I think that's the precipice we're at, where something is about to happen, but we don't necessarily feel the weight of what it is yet. But looking at that and assuming that happens, like the conversation today is probably more centered around what's our role in that, right? If we're thinking about this as not just a technology, but something that is a new intelligence. Actually, it isn't a technology, it's different to technology. It's a set of neurons that are actually going to evolve and learn, as opposed to something that we've scripted or coded. What's our role in that. So that's probably the focus of the conversation today, given that we're in the arts and PR and in design and thinking about how we can create new things in the world in the midst of a new intelligence is an interesting proposition, right? And scary, but exciting also. So thinking about that, what's one thing that you do in your work that AI could never replace? Feel free to jump in. We'll keep this pretty loose tonight. The script will probably fall away pretty quickly. But if someone has an answer, please jump in. What's something that AI can never replace in your work?
I can answer that. I run a lot of workshops, and as much as I'm trying to, I can't replace an AI version of a facilitator. Like, it just can't happen. It just isn't agile enough. I would love to, and if anyone has any ideas, I'd love to workshop it in person. But yeah, in-person workshops for me, it's just, yeah.
Let's go into that a little bit. Like, what does that? So you've got the facilitation angle, right? Like, you have to be there. But what's the tangible facts that a computer, a robot couldn't do? And assuming that we could get to a point where there could be a robot, or there could be something that was, hologrammed into the room, a Dan Levy hologram.
Well, Dan Levy hologram, would that be an automated AI avatar of me that's been pre-recorded based on some sort of LLM that's
not necessarily pre-recorded, but pulling from a data set. Right?
Yeah, I just think, you're going to be talking a lot about this tonight. It's just the way people connect with this new technology. I think they feel more comfortable on a desktop, but in person, and having a robot running or a machine running a live interaction. And I'm not suggesting for a moment, especially with remote work, where we might be in a world where you don't even know that your manager's an AI avatar talking to you on a Zoom call. But I think just in real life, sitting in a room, people just still have a massive mistrust. I mean, for us, it's even hard getting managers and teams to embrace or just consider like the potential of AI. People just, it's so overwhelming for people that if they were coming to a workshop and they were expecting a human being to facilitate, and all of a sudden there's like some holographic avatar with doing whatever, I just can't, at this present time, I can't see it. I just feel there's a big lack of trust, and especially in a government, they're having that, the amount of protocols they have around security and that, just allowing that as well.
Daisy, I won't say what you said to me just before, but but like,
There's nothing inappropriate.
no.
Yeah.
But you're not anti-AI, but
Anti-AI.
But like, what's your take? Like, in your world, like, what are things that you're looking at now and going like, cool, in your daily life, what do you think AI could never do that?
Well, with confidence, introduce yourself to another human and find a common interest and build a connection from there. And to your point about trust, trust is built on authenticity, credibility, and instinct, and all of those elements are intrinsically human. I don't know a lot about AI, as I've admitted shamefully, but I don't see a pathway to where AI can replicate human emotion, and I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure it's in the future, but until then, those elements of human connection are what we still rely on, particularly in communications and publicity.
I think for me, like my shift in thinking recently is that it won't. It might be able to replicate human emotion, but it won't be human emotion because it's not human, right? It'll be something else.
Yeah,
It'll
so
be
no connection.
Yeah, so
between.
Well, there might be connection because it might be like a connection between like us and a dog even. Like it's something that's different to the way we think and the way we operate, because it's not going to be like that. But that is, whilst you can have a very deep connection with another species, it's a different perspective. So it's interesting. Like we will hold that. Like we're going to connect differently. To your point, Dan, it's like a hologram of you is not you as we know it now, right? You will be perceived differently, regardless of whether or not it does the exact same thing.
I think it's all about context as well, because you can imagine like digital assistants. Everyone's seen the film Her. I mean, like we're living it out. And has everyone heard about Mattel now signing a deal with AI? So toys are going to have AI chips in them. So, you know, the kids will be getting Barbie dolls.
I love you, Dan.
I'm sorry?
I love you, Dan.
Yeah. But I mean, like, imagine the context of healthcare and aged care and people that are lonely, that are on their own, they have some sort of connection with some personal assistant, and it's checking in on them, making sure they take their tablets, just being there to answer questions. Like, I can see a place for that.
And Jade, from your perspective, art and storytelling, how does this butt up against?
I'm laughing thinking about my community out in country. Like, they don't even barely touch the internet. So for me, there's a few factors. It's the cultural factor. It's the 60,000 years of knowledge that our families have passed down to each other for a very, very long time. Me, on a personal level, on a business level, I run purely on intuition and people and connecting with people, body language, their energy, their aura. I can tell someone's energy from a mile away. I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I can tell pretty damn quick if someone's going to do me wrong or if they're not. And you're not going to get that through AI. You're not going to get that through a computer. Is there emotions in AI? 1,000%. I mean, I've tested it. I've tested ChatGPT to test how far you can emotionally train it to understand you. It bloody understands you. It's quite frightening. As I was discussing before, there's a lot of positives and there's a lot of negatives to that. I think it can definitely be really helpful, but in terms of, I guess, my answer, my whole family paint artwork. AI ain't going to replicate that. Even the dream times that we get passed down from generation to generation, that was painted in the sand. You know, they literally drew that in the sand. They physically talk those stories. AI ain't going to replicate that. There's sacred things that we know that no one will ever know, that's what we convey through our art. So, you know, it's interesting.
I think we'll come back to this a bit, but like how culture is built on all these small moments. So a huge amount of time, but it can be replicated. Like, you could replicate artwork, you can replicate.
Yeah, you can.
But it's not, the soul's missing, perhaps.
Pretty much. And you can tell the difference. And I think that's a massive problem with Aboriginal art. There's people who paint because they're monetising, and I can be very upfront and straight up about that. We've all been in the industry for a very long time as a family. I can identify very quickly an Aboriginal person who, and this is very controversial, and I'm pretty straight up, who has found out they're Aboriginal much later in their life, and they've gone, oh, wicked, I can start painting now. And they start painting, and you can tell that they haven't actually made the connection to their country because they're painting dreamings and stories that aren't even from their region. And then that's when I just got full body goosebumps. That is the biggest disrespect you can do. So even that, again, AI can replicate all that, but you can tell very quickly what's authentic and what's not. And for us, everything needs to be authentic.
So what does that look like for you? And given that you've got, you know, a lot that you are sharing from your tradition and your family that is, you know, deeply personal and vulnerable as a human to share, and to see people monetizing that, or people coming out and you know, faking the funk, let's say, and then you have something like an AI come in that can do it even faster than a human. Humans always copy, right? Like humans, we're good at copying.
Yeah.
We're very good at doing that. This technology is even better at that, right? Like, and faster. But what does that look like for you in your gallery, or thinking about your art looking forward? Like, how do you stay vulnerable and true to, you know, your heritage and where you come from and where you want to go?
Truly just staying in our lane. Like, AI is only going to continue to grow and continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't really keep an eye on what the competitors are doing. I'm very big about staying true to what we're doing and what we're focusing on. And if our story is very authentic and above board and it's very honest and we're showing vulnerability and the rawness, then if that doesn't work, then there's nothing more we can do. We're not going to beg you to, you know, fall in love with our culture and our story. It's what we know, and we will share it with the world. And if you accept it, fantastic. If you don't, there's the door. It's really that simple.
From a like purely commercial sense, do you feel like the punter can see the difference between what's real and what's fake?
Not always. And we have a lot of people who come to us and send us emails and say, can you confirm if this is real, if this is not, if this is correct, if it's not. And we'll do our best to guide them. But I guess that's where we try and show as much of our vulnerability online, our family videos, our family content, going out on country, sharing our stories, so that people can understand that they're connecting with a real family.
Nice. Daisy, from a PR perspective, so PR is often about curation, right? Like we would sort of try. But when does vulnerability and, mishaps or moments of, human kind of frailty actually work from a PR perspective? Like, how does that help us as opposed to having everything glossy?
Glossy. We love glossy in PR. I think just it's back to this idea of, authenticity. I often think about when we put clients in a position probably like this against, their will at times, we can only brief them to a certain point and a certain level. And then after that, it's all up to them and they have to speak from the heart. They have to share their story. I mean, it's their responsibility to humanise their brand. So I wouldn't possibly call it a client mishap, but often those little gems and those media moments that really connect to audiences are when a client is just on a tangent and they're speaking about their truth and their history. And I think that's when the magic's made, despite the fact that our hearts are racing the whole time thinking, what are they going to say?
Any examples of that, Resna? You don't need to name names.
Oh, I can't name names. Publicist honour. Dan,
from your perspective, and I've sat in workshops doing, and I agree with you around the facilitation. Like it's actually a real skill to, especially in corporate land where you work a lot. Sitting in a room full of mining executives and trying to run a workshop around change, right, within an organisation. Like it's an interesting space to be, and you're often having to actually try and find vulnerability amongst people that don't really want to necessarily be vulnerable. Which is difficult to do. Like, what does that look like for you in terms of how do you pick apart people wanting to put a sort of gloss layer on? Which is like, if you just ran a LLM over some of these workshops, that would be so perfunctory, as opposed to what's real when you're sitting in a workshop with a bunch of humans who have, they might have a C in front of their job title, but they're not actually used to having to share something.
Would my answer be coming in at where does AI sit in that process, or from how do people feel about technology being part of?
I think, forget about AI on that process, but interesting, like from a purely human level, right? In sitting in a group of people like that, right? In a workshop, how do you see vulnerability? Because I know that you actually have to pull down some barriers on people at that point.
Yeah. So I think it all comes up to pride and ego. So how do you create a safe space where pride and ego aren't the levers in the room? How can you negotiate the politics and the various dynamics of people who have that fear? And they talk a lot about fear of failure. I was listening to a podcast and Simon Sinek, he kind of reframed that and said, fear of learning. Like, why is failure the actual target? Why are they not fear of learning? And I guess it's all about lowering the stakes and kind of relating that back to the technology conversation, because there is a lot of hesitancy about how might we embrace and incorporate technology into what we do. It's really about understanding, because vulnerability really comes back to like uncertainty and risk. And that's really where it comes back to. So the goal, if leadership are embracing it and giving people some wiggle room to be able to test and understand this new technology, it really helps. But in terms of breaking down the dynamics of the room, it's usually really bad dad jokes. I get people up, I get the movement. So movement using human senses, getting them to think about, I ask silly questions, icebreaker questions like, tell me about something that made you smile this morning. And it's about bringing their real selves into the room, because once people bring their real selves, they drop their work personas and they connect as real human beings. And I know that sounds super corny, but even like walking around tonight and coming in here, I came in tonight, I'm talking myself out of being terrified and nervous amongst all these people sitting here. And I'm constantly just trying to figure out, like I spoke to Donovan earlier. He just disclosed to me he's got 2 little kids. So all of a sudden I've got a connection. I can talk about his kids. I can talk about somebody else might have done something at the weekend. They might have gone for a cold dip. It's finding those connections which open the door to broader conversations and lower the stakes of conversations. I think that's I've kind of answered quite a few things there.
But it's interesting thinking about, because if you're looking at vulnerability broadly across that, right, and going, well, that you're opening the door for people to, and yourself, right? Because I think you to lead a group of people to be vulnerable, you have to be vulnerable yourself, right? You have to open the door to be, here I am, and we're all going to be okay, right? You can leave behind whatever you thought you were coming in with, and then maybe you'll get to some jewels that sit behind that, because everyone's sort of left behind there.
Well, I think it's a great you have to build trust. How you build trust is you show people what we're trying to achieve together. You get common agreement, you set expectations, and then once people know and they feel comfortable being in that space, they know what's expected of them, they know how they can show up, and then we have that, we know we can play because they trust me as their facilitator to be able to take them through that experience.
I don't know, like if we're zooming ahead 5 years and there is this like huge influx of AIs across our whole ecosystem, everywhere in the world, there's agents doing whatever. You're a tax accounting, you're on the phone, you're talking to a robot, and then to sit in a room like this with people having a conversation might feel like something that's quite.
Well, we won't need
us
because you got like.
You won't need us, but like maybe we'll want us, right? That's what I'm saying, right? We'll want this because I think about the hologram version of you mimicking all the things that you're saying you're doing, like, because you could mimic it, right? You could try and mimic the.
I'm trying to at the moment.
So
I'm building an agentic version of More Space, and I'm trying to work out and the way because I'm investing in this technology because it is having such a significant shift, and it's like comes back to your train analogy. Yeah. If you don't take notice, you'll just end up riding horses. So I'm trying to work out what does this mean to More Space. And right from the outset, 9.5 years ago, when I set out to build a consultancy, I wanted to do things differently without bricks and mortar. And this is a great enabler for me now. So I'm looking at how I can incorporate the personas of different areas, whether that's marketing, whether that's sales for generating emails, creating workshop programs, how I can bring that together. And that's something I've invested a lot of time and energy into.
Nice segue. So thinking about production here in a studio, sales, marketing, and this is an AI conversation. Which in what has been happening in the last 10 years. It's easier and easier to produce things, right? So I mean, you can have 60,000 years worth of history and knowledge to do something that is beautiful and deeply tied to, history, or you can prompt something and you have 100 posts, 1,000 posts, 1 million posts spat out. Like, we're looking at a future where it's very easy to produce, right? Whether that's quality or not, it's yet to be said. But how does that impact all of you in your day-to-day, and what does that look like in terms of, do we feel like it is going to be shit in, shit out, and there's just more of the carbon copy, or is this a legitimate concern?
It's funny. I was trying to think about this because there's pros and cons about it. There's one for me who I'm a control freak, so I look at it as it's a time-saving thing to be able to help, bounce off an AI, be able to help come up with content, help come up with the right thing to say. In saying that, no one knows the knowledge that I know in my head. No one knows the knowledge from my grandmother. My grandmother went through the stolen generation. The stories in which that she told me, went through, experience. You can't have an AI write that emotional sort of segue to convey to clients. At the end of the day, we're trying to gain their trust, and the only way we can gain their trust is by being vulnerable. Can AI make that? Yeah, I'm sure it can, but then you're disengaged with what you're then even pushing out to your clients at the end of the day. Like, you're then losing that.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I was saying the perfect example, a client came back to me and they had questions for me literally 2 days ago, and the whole thing was in US English. So I knew it was all ChatGPT. And so I rang them just to test the limits because I was like, nah, fuck this shit, sorry. But I rang them and I said, run me through your questions. Well, you don't know what the fuck you asked me, did you? And they were like, I'm like, no. So next time, don't prompt it through ChatGPT. Let me know you just don't know, and I can run you through it, and that's okay. And this is where I get quite concerned because, especially with Aboriginal art, it's not a necessity, it's a want. You know, people who come to us are genuinely investing in the culture, they're genuinely investing in wanting to understand the traditional story of Australia, and that gives me complete, you know, privilege, honour, proud, you know, pride, all of the above. But unless I'm interacting with my clients, there are not many people jumping online and going, yeah, I'll just buy that. And I see the Instagram post. No, it takes a lot of damn hard work. You got to get on the phone to the customer. You got to work them through. You got to make them trust you. You got to let them know that they're investing into you and into your family, and it's going to go up in value in the future. So in my industry, in terms of continuing to protect the culture and the family and do that, is it going to be a benefit? No. Where it will be a benefit for me as a business owner is to help me write faster emails and to do some captions and do some EDMs, and saves me time so that I have more personal time, or it frees up more time where I create more work for myself and then end up freaking drowning in more work. But either way, it will help in that sense, but it will lose, I think, the connection and the legacy probably would be the main things that I worry about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll jump to you in a second, Daisy, because I'm interested from a PR perspective. Because it's huge, but put your hand up if you call bullshit on things that you think have come out of an LLM. And Damon, I know you did because he literally responded to me yesterday. He's like, "Did you write this with Copilot or ChatGPT?" It was like, "Hi, Damon, how are you?"
Yeah.
But who calls bullshit on this stuff and is now looking at every piece of communication you get and go, hang on, is this an authentic piece of communication from a client or a friend, or is it something that they just chucked into a
ChatGPT. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic in many ways. I was saying before, like, I had a health question and it was about a particular supplement, and I was like, I want to know the ingredients in it. Will it interact with this? And it's fantastic. It searches through Google and it helps you answer it within 10 seconds, and that's amazing. But connecting to people, it completely takes away your tone of voice. And then half the time you then read it and you're like, well, Jesus Christ, well, that's not me. So now I have to train it again and again and again and again and again. And by the end of it, by the time you've done that, you may as well write the email yourself.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like the email I sent to Damon, I had written myself, and I was like, "Oh, this is way too casual. I'll put it through," and then reformatted it, and there was calling me out, and I was like, oh,
Why didn't you just talk to him?
like it was 8 o'clock at night, and we're sending emails when I should be sleeping.
You know what? And that's the other thing. I love voice memos. I love connecting with people with voice memos.
But I use voice. So the biggest use of this like technology as it is now has been voice mix. I really like speaking into something. So to be able to like just blur and then have it kind of like be like, okay, well, I can pass that together into a cohesive email or a document. I find really.
But that's okay, because that's all your own voice.
Correct.
And that's all your own sort of data. Like you're like, this is what I'm trying to convey.
He doesn't believe.
Yeah. That is not you, mate.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting because to see that question for you, Daisy, because there is genuine benefits. Like you can use tools like this. So dictation. I was speaking to someone today. Like dictation 10 years ago, 5 years ago was really shit technology still. Right? You couldn't really just like upload a meeting and have it dictated well. Like like Dragon text to speech. It was like it's been around for like 30 years, but it's never been good until because you're my age. Sorry, mate. But until recently, it hasn't been good. But now it's good. Like it is good. But like there is a lot of AI generated content out there, right? And it's easy for a brand to say, "Hey, cool, give me 10 different angles on this and spit it out." Well, how does that sit in your world in terms of actually trying to communicate?
Yeah. So, and to your first question about automation as well, obviously automation helps with efficiency, but as a consumer and a user of technology myself, I'm exhausted. Like the sponsored posts, the content coming, like content's king. We love content, but I'm just fatigued. Like I I used to scroll on Instagram back in 2012 and see a, lovely lo-fi photo, and it was relaxing, it was enjoyable, it was access to something that was new and exciting. And now Instagram is, a place of exhaustion, same with TikTok. And so, this idea of automating content and trying to produce as much as possible to keep people engaged, I'm of the belief that it has the opposite effect. When we're talking to clients, whether it's content or, publicity activity, there has to be a very clear call to action who is relevant to, the audience that you're trying to speak to. That also helps you identify who you're actually trying to engage with and speak to. But yeah, I think that if you're not clear in your message and how you're conveying that, and you're just creating things for the sake of it and producing it and putting it out there, people are smart enough to see through that these days. And, particularly, I think that fatigue possibly came from the COVID era when we were all just stuck with our phones and we weren't, there was lots of content created from homes and whatnot. And then, I think coming out of that, people are now seeking connection. And so your messaging online has to back that connection up in person. And, if someone is visiting your restaurant, are you offering what you've put out to the world? I hope that made sense. I sort of went on a tangent and I'm very nervous and I did not have enough champagne before this.
Do you have champagne? Someone get Daisy champagne, please.
Oh, thank you.
100%. But I agree with it. It's weird thinking back to 2012 and the start
Those
of
filters
Instagram.
will forever be in my memory.
Oh man, the start of my war was weird.
XX Pro Valencia, I think, was one. Anybody?
Everyone was a photographer,
Oh yeah, everyone is a photographer, and everyone's an influencer.
Okay, so
Everyone is an influencer. Don't forget it.
but on that point, and I don't think we've seen the sort of full kind of tidal wave of it yet. It is and I sound old now, but going back to when I started kind of in design and video editing, things were still gate kept by it's hard, right? There was craft there where it was actually you had to learn how to do something, and now this is great.
Thank you, Hannah, for pulling this all together.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah. No, I'm good, thank you. Now everything's like a prompt away. So are we at a point where I'm flipping questions now? We're at a point where the prompts become the creativity, and we just more creative prompters than the next person, or is there still craft that sits between that? And I'll come back to the actual question, but thinking about what you do in terms of design and design thinking, what does design thinking even mean when we have this technology amongst us? Is it still a thing?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a thing. I mean, it's a framework. The whole purpose of the framework is so you can connect with people to understand how you influence and impact them. So the whole premise behind it is to be able to do the upfront work, to just understand the needs and the desires of people and their pains. Now, that realistically happens by observing, by speaking to them. However, tools, I sound like the pro AI guy, and I'm like...
No, I was about to jump back over to pro because there's still a lot of pros.
But I think coming...
We'll get to that
super
soon.
helpful from the scale perspective. And coming back to, you were talking before about, well, does this mean... Because I was having this discussion last night with somebody and they were like, oh, it's fantastic. We can get software out so fast. And I'm like, yeah, imagine how much that software stinks. I think from in a workshop perspective, we'll run a design sprint, for example. And in that design sprint, we need to create a prototype. We need to create a prototype because we need to create an experience for people to kind of engage with it so we can get feedback. Now, before these tools became so accessible to everybody, I get people in the room to make the prototype and it looked horrendous. And now they have the power where they can just put something together so quickly, like a video in Google VO3 or whatever it is, a sales pitch, for the purposes of understanding and conveying some sort of message or whatever it might be. Really quick, get feedback and iterate on it. That doesn't mean it replaces the big thing, but I think it definitely has a place as like some sort of sidecar to support that. I wouldn't suggest for a moment that, you know, they've all created prototypes. Well done, guys. Let's build a CRM and let's go into business. Not a chance. But, you know, them getting that understanding of it and that capability means that they're able to potentially help people like yourself, like in advertising agencies and that, and show their vision and be a lot clearer in their briefs. You know, like that is quite exciting as well, because I know I come from your world as well, way back when, and I remember the briefs you get, they stink. Like, you imagine like, oh yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from here, because you still, like you think about, say for instance, a TV commercial. I'm completely out my depth here, so excuse me for those that know about filters and that. But all of a sudden, like, they might do research about camera angles and filters and that. That known knowledge is, you still need some level of expertise to get to that point, to create a shot, etc. Anyone can create the video, but it's that panache that goes on top of it and making those creative decisions, those technical decisions that somebody like me just couldn't do. Like,
And so where does kind of intuition sit in that, right? So you could very quickly put a prompt in and say like, what, you know, we want to create this type of mood or whatever the, you know, the honeycomb buddy filter they've got. I'd be like, well, what? But you could start very quickly trying to learn about that, but it doesn't replace experience.
but then
It doesn't replace understanding. I've done this 50 times before and I know what's going to work for this vibe and this setting. So there's a certain level of kind of learn human intuition that the large language model might have the answer in there somewhere, but it's still a human at the end of it that has to then transcribe that and or pull it out and then apply it in a human setting. If that makes sense, right? So like the answer might be quicker to get than through Google. But I think back to how I learned, you know, my trade in web design. It was through YouTube, right? Basically, it wasn't YouTube. It was a bit, you know, torrent that I downloaded from lynda.com, right? Like, but it was like, it was a tutorial, but it was I had to learn it, and you could probably teach yourself whatever you want through ChatGPT now. You still have to sit there and do it. You still have to sit there and go, and if you apply yourself, then you're learning a craft, right? So but then that human intuition element, I'm interested in your perspective on this, Jake, because it's, you know, I think that is such a big part of art and the sensibility of creating comes from the gut, right? It doesn't come from here.
No, I think naturally and transparently with Aboriginal culture, it's very much a tick boxing scenario in a lot of situations, and it's being able to cipher through those moments with different companies and different people to try and understand, is there real intent or is there a tick boxing moment? And for me, that's where my intuition comes in. I can identify really, really quickly when someone's coming to me just to, oh, we've got money, we need to spend it. I send them the other way. I'd rather not deal with it. I'm not money driven. I'm really, really huge on protecting the culture. And naturally with that, I've had 50 million more no's than yeses in my career. Like the amount of deals that I've declined because I just don't even want to be around people who don't have the true intent of our culture. It's a privilege to learn about Aboriginal culture. I don't take that lightly. You know, as much as I've grown up in the Western side of the world, I went to Loreto, I've had a good education. I've, you know, done all that on the other side of my world. I grew up out in country. I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I've gone hunting. I've gone, you know, sleeping in the bush. I've done men's business, women's business. I've done all the cultural protocols, and people get quite shocked hearing that because I think they look at me and they assume one thing, and I was in fashion forever, and, you know, I come across a certain way on social media. But even talking about that, anytime I put a post up on social media, the fashion stuff, yeah, people like it. The moment I put up things from country and people that they can connect with something that they've never seen before and that they can learn about, is skyrockets. And it's that connection, intuition, vulnerability, rawness, is that what people want. People have enough AI, and this is what I'm going to say. AI is, there's so many positives. There's so many positives. But if you want to connect with someone, it's impossible. You can't use it. So that is where the cultural element for me is just at the forefront. Like the culture legacy, intuition. That's just it.
It's interesting, like purely from a commercial sense, you saying that, if people are checkbox in there, they're not your customer, right? Like, fuck them. They're not for me. It's interesting. Again, zooming forward, if we think that like it's going to become easier to produce anything, right? Like what we do in producing advertising, like producing something like a beautiful television commercial is becoming potentially cheaper to do, easier to do, right? But there's going to be a bunch of people out there that say we can do it cheaper and easier.
Yeah.
But perhaps it's lacking the insight, lacking some of the historical knowledge that you have, or that kind of gut feeling you get from doing things a lot of the time. And you say, well, I'd prefer to work with someone that's actually done the hard yards than there's someone that's just prompting something.
Yeah, and I think there's enough people out there who will take the prompting, like, and cool that you're not my client.
But has that always been the case? Do you think like there's always been that trade-off of like people are always shopping for the cheaper option?
I have always been like that.
Yeah.
And they'll honestly call me and they'll say, but it's cheaper here, so then buy it there.
Cool.
I don't need to convince you otherwise. It's really, you come to us for the provenance of our gallery and how long we've been in the market. You come to us, I mean, just so people know, has anyone seen the Qantas plane, Emily and Moiré? That's my great auntie. Oh, cool. That's the level of where our family are at. We're in most museums all around the world. We've been in the industry since the 80s. We've done the hard yards to get to where we are. So we've done 40 years of really building that, and I don't take that lightly. So I feel a lot of pressure to make sure I keep it at that level. So every decision I make, every time I put my name onto something, I'm putting my whole family's name onto it. So I have to decipher and I have to look through, because if those people aren't going to do right by the artwork, the family, the legacy, trust me, I hear about it. My family will kill me. Oh my God, I can't, because I'm managing all their emotions and their opinions, and it's, I've let go of some big financial deals because I just sat there and I'm like, this is just, it's not right. I know it's not right.
I was just going to say, but like what I'm picking up from you is like you've got a really distinct, aware set of what your brand is.
Yes.
And what the values of your brand are. Regardless, like I think AI, whatever the technology is, these conversations that we've been having forever, like, everyone's going to be able to do Photoshop now, whatever it might be. But what, like, I guess, like I don't think AI has taste. Like, it just doesn't have taste, and it's not always right as well, because it's always trying to please you. But what I'm picking up from you is like you have such a strong sense of brand, your values, your principles. I mean, I can imagine you talk to people all the time and they just don't really know. It's like, what do you want to say? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. What do you stand for? I don't know. You just so crystal clear. That means that you can make really objective decisions on how technology can enable your business and can amplify your brand, which is really helpful for you. Whereas, like, I think, there's some couple of conversations that are coming together now. Like authenticity in terms of what you're producing and your brand. That's a unique value proposition for you. But then that also ties back to the audience and the type of person that's going to buy from you, because they value that. But for somebody that just wants something that looks culturally correct, that's not your world. And that's the same. You can relate that back to like Amazon. They sell so much junk, fidget spinners. They don't have brands. Somebody just like goes to Alibaba, creates hundreds of thousands of them. There's no like brand. I think that's a different type of brand that what we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that if you are well tuned into what that is, then it's an antidote to the fidget spinners that are coming at you in the market, right? Like it's an interesting perspective. It is for you, Daisy, like thinking about like real world problems dealing with clients. Like how much is gut important as opposed to data that's coming at you?
Well, I think gut is all that instinct, intuition, and I think when I think of client problems, I'm probably, to draw it back to my world, dealing in that crisis communications space where it is completely out of our control and it often requires an immediate response. But that response is usually, you're communicating to 3 different audiences. You're you're responding to the crisis, you're responding to your client, and then you're responding to the receiver of that message and the audience. And you have to consider all of that in a very short amount of time and space. And I think, yes, AI can definitely prompt and help. But at the end of the day, if you have a client there who's going, right, I'm going to go this alone and I'm just going to type my problem into ChatGPT and see how can they trust that? And so when you're a publicist, I hope your client trusts you. And so it's our ability to bring together sort of these three different elements and respond to a situation. And also like the social setting, you have to be aware of what's happening in the world, and that's your job. And, back to that gut instinct and that trust, and bring it all together to deliver a response to a crisis that, I just think it still needs that human touch. Maybe I'm uneducated on AI. Maybe AI is capable of recreating that, human essence, but I'm just not sold quite yet. But I feel like you're going to have thoughts.
No. I was just going to say, like, an AI doesn't have your connections.
Yeah.
It doesn't have your LinkedIn connections.
That trust, right, though? It's a client, I think, a lot of our clients are sort of, they hire, and same with, you're hired as an expert in your field.
Yeah.
And so there is a trust there that you are going to deliver the best result for whatever, a brief or whatnot. And, a lot of people don't trust AI at the moment. So yeah, it is great for prompting, it helps, we've all used ChatGPT here. But I think particularly the gut instinct in this sort of environment at the moment is, just intuition.
How does that sit with you, Dan, when you're sitting with, I don't know, like you are trying to solve a problem in a business, and you are taking through a fairly, a week or 4 days worth of a fairly rigorous process of like empathizing and going deeper than just, hey, I could just solve this in 3 minutes by putting this into ChatGPT. But I assume that in your business you're coming up against people saying, "Oh, we could probably do this much faster with the tools available to us now." Like, what's the rub there for you?
It's okay. So you got qual and quant, and I'll get them muddled up. I always do. Quant's just data. Data's really important to make decisions, to understand about where there's problems. And data could be survey responses, it could be analytics, it could be just whatever. It could be just doing a competitive analysis and just putting something into a spreadsheet. The people aspect gives you context. When we conduct problem framing, so I'm working on a project at the moment with a team, and I'm going to use technology to be able to crunch that information, just like you do with a meeting, to be able to get out the bits that you need that make sense based on the brief, based on the objectives, to just start it just makes things a lot faster in that instance to be able to present back and get feedback. So from a functional, technical point of view, I'm using it to crunch a lot of data together. And that's helpful. I mean, nobody really wants to sit in a room looking at spreadsheets.
But what about from the client's perspective? Are they going, "Oh, we could actually just do this faster"?
Well, it comes back to that kind of skilled technician, knowing the right people, knowing to ask the right questions. Because again, you said it earlier, shit goes in, shit comes out. That still applies. It's just more shit's going in and more shit's coming out with all of this. Like, I can create 500 videos or whatever. So, like I said before, clients are terrified of technology. Most of them have spreadsheets that are sitting on their computers that they share about. So even the Google Cloud is just mining.
My mum is seriously scared of the cloud. She refers to it as.
I feel like this might be
Been in the cloud.
uniquely
I've
South
actually
Australian
visited a
thing.
place. It's the cloud. It's mental.
No, it's in the cloud.
It's just a big server room. I think it's really helpful. Like, why spend a lot of time on something? And I'm still saying that you have to take responsibility and accountability with what you're doing and what you're presenting and your sources and checking them and fact checking them. But if you can condense that to bring the information back and have a conversation about it, I think that's pretty powerful.
But you spoke about this before, Jade. I think there's a comprehension is such a huge part of this, right? So I deeply believe it's shit in, shit out, right? So like if Damien wants to pull me up on the email I sent him last night and have a conversation about it. Like if it had just been purely LLM process, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like it would be a different conversation. Be like, oh, I've just proved it. So there's a full stop. But that's different, and I am quite concerned about there being a generation that aren't thinking, right? They're just putting shit in and getting shit out and talking shit, and there's a bunch of shit in the world, and that's quite worrying, really, right? And losing craft and losing the understanding that, like insights come through nuance and, actually, empathizing and seeing the little things that sit, even like, I've been using recording all meetings, and you've got it's amazing, right? Like to have a note taker that has heard every single instance and can process that and give you, direct outputs. But there's still stuff that sits in a meeting that is a human connection. It's like someone's energy or something someone said, the context isn't within the meeting that you picked up, that I think people with good comprehension actually can use to take something forward or build something or create something. That's kind of missing. So it's a bit scary in the sense that if we just take this all carte blanche, then you start losing some of the things that are important and go into great creativity or not even creativity, just like the things that make our world what it is. It becomes very templated.
Even with templates, right? Like I'm thinking, what do I use chat for? I'm trying to, because there's a lot of, I've used it a lot for a lot of really positive things too. Like if a customer has an inquiry about an artwork and they just want to know the price, the size and thing, there's a very easy way of just copy, paste, ChatGPT, respond. That stuff's okay because it's not, it's pretty generic things. You're not like, and that's time saving.
Time saving.
As people who are on the road all the time, Jesus Christ, it's amazing. It's an amazing time saver. But then I'm thinking in my head, how much I love networking with people and how much I love getting on a plane and going to meet my clients and getting to understand them and their emotions and how they think. Because I'm one of those people where I'm like, oh, they've had a reaction like this. Okay, something's obviously gone on. I need to understand them more as a person so that I can work with them easier. But that's just the way that I work. So yeah, that's not going to come across in a ChatGPT email whatsoever, or an email. To be quite frank, a lot of what we do is very much about personal connection and growth. And I know a lot of my success has been making relationships with people. It's not what I've done. It's not what I've achieved. It's not the biggest sales. It's been the effort that I've put in with understanding the person. And then they come back to me and they're like, oh, Jade, I don't even really need anything. I just wanted to get another piece and have a good chat. And what have you got? And I'll come in and I'm like, okay, cool. Take you for lunch. Like, it's just how it is.
Do you think there's like a base level of comms that are just going to get better? Like people are not generally good at writing emails. People are not good at grammar or formatting things, but or using Excel. But all that's just going to the base standard is going to be raised, right? So it's like every email is perfectly formatted, and and so that will just become part of the course.
Yeah.
But which is good from like a general business perspective. Like if I want to inquire for a dentist, I expect to have a response quickly and it to be personalised and well formatted. Like that should have happened prior to AI, but didn't for the most case. But this technology will help that. At the end of the day, you still want to go see a dentist, right? So
yeah.
It's sort of, I think it takes out that bottom layer, but then there's still a human element that sits above that.
Yeah.
Which is good as a business owner perspective, because that stuff's sometimes hard, right? To automate comms and do all the things that you have to do prior to your workshop. I assume this technology is useful in that, and for you too. It's like the administrative side of things. It's actually very useful.
Something that made me laugh, an experience I'm going through at the moment. My partner, she's got a 15-year-old boy. He's being pushed into what's your career going to be, and he wants to get into engineering, and he sees all these adverts all around town on the bus. The future jobs haven't been invented yet, like the future of this, the future of that. And he's getting pressure from
Make history.
I'm sorry? That's right. No, you don't think there'll be... No, but he's been told, what do you want to do? And he's like wondering what credibility the jobs and the where...
Sure, totally.
So you've got this kind of mix in the middle, and from a human insight point of view, just having that understanding that you've got all these 15-year-olds that are scratching their heads, they don't know, they even more so don't know what they want to do.
It would be terrifying being a 15-year-old right now.
What about TikTok?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Everyone's an influencer.
But it's true though. What are they influencing is the other thing.
We prefer key opinion leader. It's the term now. KOL.
I remember like 20 years ago, being at uni and thinking like I like you're either a creator or you're a consumer, right? So I like everyone being an influencer. Actually, I quite like that mentality, right? Because you can sit passively and consume or be part of the creative process, right? Whatever that looks like. So like influence, it's a loaded term, but I think I like the idea of everyone being involved in the conversation. Depends what they're selling, I suppose.
And just to bring that back to this AI concept and influencers or content creators, whatever it is, I believe everyone's an influencer because everyone has an opinion. And in PR, we're sort of shifting towards, building community around brands, and how we do that is through other people who have experienced something and then can share that messaging on behalf. So if I need a restaurant recommendation, I'm not asking ChatGPT because it doesn't know me, it doesn't know what I like, and I don't trust it. It's experienced it. So I'm asking friends and family who have, enjoyed an experience and can relate to what I like and what I know. And that's, I'm asking their opinion. I'm asking, where am I going for dinner tonight?
But what if, so to
Yes.
play devil's advocate for you, what if you had all of your previous restaurant experience documented in a folder, and it knew what Daisy likes, and you
I'm
go,
not going to tell it just yet.
but like theoretically, because like I think that's probably a good use case to say, well, you like these types of experiences, this type of hospitality, this type of cuisine, this type of experience, then you could go, cool, like I'm going to go to Mexico City next week. Where should I go based off what I've learned so far?
Fair point. But can it provide perspective?
It does.
Like considered perspective.
it's
though?
crazy.
Based off what you've given it.
Yeah.
So again, it's shit in, shit out. So if you've given it really
Okay.
good data points.
See, I know nothing about it.
I was about to say I've really trained my ChatGPT like big time because I really have. I've made it understand the way I talk, my tone, my expectations, my type of clients, my good experiences. I've spent a lot of time training it so that now I know, okay, this is the type of answer I'm looking for, and it's bang on every time. So that's the perfect example where if you put all your experiences, all your favourite food, all the restaurants you've gone to, what you didn't like, what you did like, it will give you a great recommendation.
Instead of just picking up the phone to your friend.
But yeah, well.
But and this is this is the brave new world. I was just doing a podcast yesterday talking about.
Riding horses still, clearly.
But what happens if you didn't have someone to call though, right?
I think what's wrong with actually getting out of the house and finding somewhere. I remember when I was
that's
traveling and
Yeah.
you judge a place based on how low people were sitting. Like that looks really great.
But again, I do think, Dan, we're at a precipice of like, because it's not AI, it is the internet, right? And just the data we have, because the exploration is the thing that, is hard to do these days. I want to watch something on Netflix. I don't just scroll on Netflix. I'm on Rotten Tomatoes or on blah, blah, blah. And you're always curating everything. So if you're going to go to a new city, it's rare that you just wander down the street and I'll try the Italian place in the corner. Like, some people do, but I don't think younger generations are going to. They're going to be prompting everything.
100% they don't. And that comes back to that kind of laziness. I know I sound like an old person here, laziness. But there's no friction. Everything's so easy. You can pick up, everyone can
It's accessible.
Become a creator. Everybody can sell things. I can find stuff up online with whatever. I went overseas last year and everybody on the dance floor was just filming themselves. I've never seen that. I used to go to festivals and you meet at the back left of the toilet. Hopefully everyone would be there.
We met at a conference, Dan. We met at a conference. That's good. Back there. I think that idea of that level of how we're going to surface things, find things is interesting because like the propensity for randomness goes, right? And you just end up with being, well, what's some algorithm telling me? It's slightly different from the algorithm we've been used to, right? It's different from an Instagram algorithm, but it's still kind of an algorithm.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, and you'd find this interesting now, like in regards to say you put a position up for a new creative or account manager.
Yeah.
Does your process involve AI at all? And then when you get
This is a loaded question.
what does the responses look like? How do you choose?
I mean, it depends who's putting it up, but I assume it probably goes through some sort of the ChatGPT or something similar for. My assumption would be most people should be using that just tidy up grammar or Grammarly at the basis. The responses are frustrating. So I think that level of like tidying up a CV is good, right? That's actually just that's par for the course. I think a generic templated response is not what I'd be looking for, right? So, and you know how I like to use video and that kind of stuff. So I think it's harder to template, right? Because it's me talking. So I like that angle, but I think I'd like to see a personalized response.
Yeah.
Templated doesn't work for me in that instance.
I'm just like, we talk about that kind of laziness and doing things easy.
Yeah.
Like now, even for yourselves, like it must be really challenging. Like when we put a post up, you just can't sense what's real and what's not. Everything looks the same.
It does. I'm going to be really vulnerable here. I need to go to the toilet so badly.
Please
so, Jade,
go.
you hold the microphone for
Okay.
2 minutes and interview these guys. I'm going to go to the toilet and come back. Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have a question? Yeah. That's probably a good thing so far. Yeah.
So going back to culture and AI, because of where AI gets their information, obviously it's forming a bias
Yeah.
of what it can reach. I guess what are all your opinions on how that's going to continue to influence maybe like biases throughout society? And just, I don't know, it's kind of a really random question. Like whatever you think on that topic really, the influence of that.
I have tested what it says about Aboriginal culture in there, and as a whole, it's pretty generic in that Aboriginal culture as a whole is quite connected. But at the end of the day, there's over 200 languages. Within my community, we've got 18 different communities within the one region. We all argue. We all don't agree. We all speak different languages. Like, none of Aboriginal culture has been properly documented. The only way that it has been properly documented is from our newer generations doing the best we can to continue to keep documenting it. So I'm never going to rely on AI to do that, I think, would be my main sort of point of view with culture. Like, I think you can get a general understanding a lot from it, but at the end of the day, at the same time, my opinion is very different to my grandmother's and very different to my aunties and very different to the community down the road. Like, I'm very protective of the Aboriginal culture because of what I've seen and what I've gone through. The amount of, racism that even I've dealt with is beyond outrageous. The first thing always is, but how much Aboriginal are you? Oh, cool. Do you want me to ask you how much Italian you are? Like, what do you mean? I just would never, ever in a million years ask someone that question. I get it. We've got a mixture of culture. I've got Aboriginal, Greek, Italian, Irish. I've got it all. But I've grown up with my Aboriginal family, so I identify as Aboriginal. I didn't grow up with any other way. So for me, that was it. I don't know where I was going with that tangent. I just totally lost it.
Society bias. Was that?
Yeah, well, on that note, do you think that these, like, let's say where it might be pulling from people with these racist biases, it's all bad to continue to push that bias and maybe that racism into society? Like, you think it'll just kind of cause that cycle?
Probably. At the end of the day, it's picking up on everything that people are putting out there too, and there's a lot of racism.
So going back to what you said is that you're kind of continually teaching it and it's learning how the human brain. So,
That's all we can do.
That's a great thing too, like is that you actually have an opportunity to kind of change it and influence it.
And I think, look, at the end of the day, people are going to have their opinions, whether it be my culture, someone else's culture, everything that's going on with Gaza and Israel, that everyone's going to have their opinion. What's right and what's wrong, that's up to what you believe as an individual at the end of the day. So all we can continue to do is share as positively as we can. If you don't agree with it, okay. Like,
But that's very, like, it's so to your question, it's very cultural, right? So if these data sets have all been trained by a certain subset of culture, right? Like maybe they do have a bias, right? Like maybe they're a bias towards the Silicon Valley mindset, for example, right? Which is going to be different to say if you came from a different part of the world that has
pretty much
quite a different cultural perspective. Interestingly, I think the technology or the way these models are evolving, like theoretically they should be kind of culturally agnostic, but they don't feel like it. Like everyone, like if you the fear of where this goes is that AI can run off, right? So it'll
Yeah.
run off and start. We get general artificial intelligence starts thinking for itself. We have super intelligence. Humans become ants, and it's the apocalypse, right?
But imagine your ChatGPT compared to mine.
Yeah.
Your answer about Aboriginal culture compared to mine.
Well, yeah.
It'd be very different.
Very different.
Right? And that alone is quite scary.
Yes.
Is it? That doesn't seem scary at all.
What do you think? Tell me.
I think we're at the creation of electricity. It will make the world a net better place. I think fear is reasonable, but is actually just like the way we're wired, but we don't need to be fearful of this. I think you made comments about gut instinct.
Yeah.
I think we have so much psychological evidence on like our gut instincts are not good. I use my gut instinct every day, all day.
No, I'm agreeing
But
with
it's
you.
like we're not great with our gut instinct. That's why we let robots fly planes and not the pilot. Once they take off, you switch to autopilot. You look at of the 750 odd plane crashes in the last 40 years, like 60% of them are human error.
Yeah.
The other small percentage are like mechanical error. None of them are the autopilot making a mistake. This stuff is going to make the world so much better. To your point, Sam, the data set is so big. This could actually be the most diversely aware technology we've ever had.
Because it actually opens up opinions to
Correct.
things you weren't aware of.
Like, you're way more diversely aware than any individual human being.
But so in that worldview, where does that, because if you're going to outsource, so like the pilot example is interesting, right? So you're outsourcing the flight route.
Yep.
Makes sense because it's statistically a better opportunity of making it to the other end, right? What else are we going to outsource? And then what's left?
Whatever we want. Whatever we want. The human pursuits of like the things we actually want to do.
But then
Like
can
human connection is like, you're right, like it can't replace human connection. Sorry.
This is
Sorry.
good. This is good, Ben.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I love it.
But I think it's very easy to be fearful of this stuff and critical of it. And
See-
and like not to diminish that. I just think that's easy.
I'm not fearful of the technology. I think it's epic. I think it's going to be incredible. I think the things we're going to be able to achieve is incredible. What I meant by the fear of that is encouraging racism, for example. So if it's projecting the wrong answer, you're encouraging even more of a problem. Like it's
So where does, so I think hearing what you're saying, like the kind of echo chamber you get, right? So where I was going is that you have, you know, kind of fairly sycophantic relationship with these models at the moment, right? They tell you that you're great, and they tell you whatever you think is right.
yeah.
Right? And so if you're in a bubble that is a racist bubble, perhaps the model tells you, yeah. Here's some
correct.
data to back you up, right? In your model, it's going to be our model will be extremely different.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hear what you're saying, Ben, is that if you have all of the data that ever existed in the world available, like theoretically you should be, you know, that is an open mind, right? Like that is the potential to be like, actually, no, look at what's happened previously. Like, you know, we repeat ourselves across cultures and across history. But whether or not it's going to tell you that or it's going to tell you what you want to hear.
Well, it takes emotion out of it as well, right? Like bias is obviously there for humans, and obviously it's going to be there in AI, you know, as well. But at the same time, like humans have an emotional response to things as well, and sometimes they make, you know, really bad choices because of those emotions. But if AI is giving us answers just based off data, then maybe it might be giving us a more kind of positive and more factual kind of response than an emotional response.
But just to your point about sort of human error, isn't that sort of the colour and complexity of life and how we all learn through, you know, experiences? And so just to dumb it right down, we're living in the future where everything is automated and we all get the right answers and we know exactly how to behave. Like, you know, this is a super dumbed down version of what you've said. But like, so where's the joy and the, you know, that's sort of like, I think a lot of people who are uneducated about AI are fearful of. And, you know, you can tell someone to not do the thing 1,000 times, but they're still going to do it and they're not going to learn not to do it until they do it, which is the human error element.
Oh, just a quick caveat. I have an Uber waiting outside because I have the bath time to get to the bath.
I was like going to put up a...
I like this. Drop the bomb and leave.
the question I would ask is like, that's a
He's an
completely,
industry plant.
You get cancelled the Uber ban.
completely legitimate question.
Is it automated?
What if it's more colourful? And that's the only point, is like, what if it is more colourful? What if all of a sudden everyone has the opportunity to infinitely explore the creative realm for them that they want to? If it, like, using this tool. And so it's like, it's not that it will be more colourful, but it's not that it will be less tough. Like, it's just a tool that we're in control of. Sorry, this is super weird.
I like this band.
I'm so sorry.
Lynn Proud band.
I'm so sorry. It's weird.
Sam, my concern would be, when Jade spoke before,
Yeah.
then on her, it's her brand, she's got the morals and she knows exactly what she is. She knows who she is, she knows who her clients are and who they're not. My worry is AI is being trained, who it's being trained by and what it's being trained for. And at the moment, it seems to be monetisation and there's a lot of chemicals involved. So I don't know if as unregulated as if that's a good thing.
Well, if there's an incentive for, but so what you're saying is there an incentive to do good, or is there an incentive to build culture, or an incentive to do some of the things that Ben's saying there, and like actually, lift a rising tide as opposed to making Meta more money?
Does it work out where the problem is? Just like
I mean, it depends on what you're looking at, right, at the end of the day. I mean, I know me. I will not be where I am today unless I fucked up a million times and I learned from them. I've gone through the emotional pain. I've gone through the hardships. I've gone through the 50 million no's. If I got all of them correct and ChatGPT told me how to answer all of them and I got yes, Jesus Christ, I'd be a boring human. And I would not have the grit, I would not have the drive, I would not have the emotional, empathetic capacity to be able to thrive in business. It'd be damn boring. My God, imagine not arguing with people because everything was just always correct. Or imagine
She's an Aries, by the way.
I am an Aries. I'm glad you knew that. I don't know, it's...
Where does the accountability lie? And where does the transparency lie?
And then what are you going to do? Say to someone, oh, but ChatGPT told me so.
Well, in a court case, for example, so we are moving towards using it in PR cases and in cases where we are making statements and stuff like that, then you can't just go, well, I put that through ChatGPT. Where does the line change of where is it my words versus, it's something that was inputted.
But on the flip side of that, Emma, I think from are there any lawyers in the room? Put your hand up if you're a lawyer.
I pretend that I am some days.
There's an accountant, so I know there's an accountant.
ChatGPT helps me be one.
But I think for legal and accounting, these tools are pretty interesting, right? Because so on the black and white scale of the law, it's like, well, here's all the law that's ever been, and the precedent that's set, and the contracts that have been set by whatever the law is. Cool, that's easy to pass against what have you done. The what I did element is more.
This is all a theory though, right? Because all of it is still learning, and that's
Correct.
So at this stage, with every piece that you're putting through from a legal perspective, from an accounting perspective, it's the age-old joke, right? The engineer's gone to go fix a submarine and he hits the nail in the right spot and he passes a bill for $200,000 there. You just hit a nail. Why are you charging me $200,000 for 2 seconds worth of work? Well, I'm charging for all the time I've learned how to do something.
Yeah.
I've heard that story before.
Yeah.
No, but that's a good story. It's true.
The scary thing about this, and we're running close to time, so I'll open up for one more question. The scary thing about what I think Damon just said is that 200 years of whatever the time went to learn where to put the nail, right? Same thing like a logo, in a profession.
It's the same with my Aboriginal culture.
Correct.
It's like, how long did that take you? 60,000 years. Sorry, that's always my answer.
Yeah. But what if, I mean, theoretically, and again, playing devil's advocate, if a technology or a superintelligence could have 60,000 years worth of human learning in a week, right? And that then goes beyond our understanding.
But the data wouldn't be there, right? From back then. Yeah. Please go.
What I really find interesting is one time with authenticity, AI, where we're saying, one thing that always drives me, and we are in a really strange crosshair of AI and creativity, right? If you're in the Industrial Revolution, made things quicker and easier to do certain things. You found pottery was, instead of making it by hand, it's got 60,000 years worth of understanding how to do that pottery. All of a sudden, being based here, right? I'm going to charge you $30,000 instead of $300,000. We are at that same precipice again. How do you see this impacting? Is it the same? Is it different? Or where do we go from here? And how much does that impact and expectation you have to put clients?
There's not enough time left, Damon. There's not enough time.
Go
Well, it's a big question because that precipice, if you're standing on the edge of, you know, having a fire kiln versus a, you know, like, or a pottery wheel versus, it's game changing, really, right? So you have to reset the whole value equation at that point. But I think that my thinking of it is, well, that's what you have to do then, right? Well, what has changed and how can we step up from it, right? If things become faster and easier, or if things become, then you work out, well, how do we take that on board and then still produce value at the next level?
How do you convince clients of your authenticity?
That's a good question.
You're asking me in general? It's funny. This is an interesting one. Like I said, our family have been in the industry since the 80s. We've got there's a lot going on behind the scenes in Aboriginal politics right now, and especially for our family in particular, and it will eventually hit the news, and I can't talk too much into it. It will be global news. It's impacted the business so much that I had a client call me recently, and they were after quite a significant painting, so that it takes a few weeks, it takes a few days to talk to them, make them understand of the investment, the price, why this one's authentic, etc. And then they've talked to a few other people, and they've run me back, and they said, but how do I know your artwork's real? I said, and I've never had this question. None of us have had this question in any of our careers, and this is how you know there's a bit being manipulated in the market right now by the wrong people. And I just said, what? And they said, but how do I know that your family painted it? And I've never been so gobsmacked in my freaking life. Like, it was just one of those things where I'm like, is this seriously what we're getting to now? And this is where the downfall does come with AI, reproduction, people trying to take over the market with the non-authentic stuff. Like, you sort of, this is where it's starting to impact now. And you're just sort of like, how do I know it's real? Maybe my Auntie Emily, the one on the plane, painted it in the back of my yard of our family home, and we've got it completely on videotape. Yeah, but still, how do we know it's real? Well, I don't know what more to say to you.
Was your question, coming back to your question, it was like, how does this new technology impact our business? So this is the question that is constantly coming up, and I think that's many people are kind of sitting here like, well, what does this mean for us? And I've just been listening to like so many conversations happening with the chap that's in the cab right now. You didn't see him shimmy down the back door. And it's the same thing. It all comes back what will, you know, like what you've spoken about before, like this is what we stand for. It comes back, what are you trying to achieve? Where are you trying to go to? Like whether that's your business, whether it's you personally, it doesn't matter the size of the business. What does success look for like?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what the technology is, it's an enabler. You then think about where are you now? And what resources, what systems, what capabilities do you have? And look at that. Like, what does the end-to-end experience look like? And then you can start thinking about how might we incorporate technology into our systems and processes and whatever it might be. And that's a really clear, tangible start, because then all of a sudden you can start to break down where there's opportunity to create value for your clients that they wouldn't have been able to seek elsewhere, whether that's a government client that needs a bunch of emails and they need you to have a deep bench. All of a sudden that becomes much easier for you to service a client. So, I mean, it's changing. So, like, we're already out of date, some of the conversations we've had. Like, I remember I gave a presentation, it was called AI, what the fuck, basically. And as I was creating it...
When?
I'm sorry?
When was that?
It was most probably about 2 years ago. And I was creating it. And
How's
every
it
time
aged?
every 5 minutes, every time I logged on to do it, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, but what it reminded me, and when I came into the room and presented to these CEOs, I was just like, it goes back to the fundamentals, like the fundamentals of, art, of creation and media, like what we did at university, of brand building. And I think coming back to your business from a business perspective, many businesses can't even clarify what their vision is. So therefore they go straight into solution mode and they're like, yeah, get me an AI, whatchamacallit. And it ends up like a massive investment and they end up in the corner speeding somebody out of date. So realistically, start from where you want to go, figure out where you are now, and then work out what the delta is. And there's different things that you can do by working out how you serve your customers, asking what they need and figure out where you can incorporate it. That's a really kind of bare bones, no technology answer, common sense. So hopefully that might be helpful.
I'm not sure there's like a critical cutoff here, but I think we've hit our time, Hannah. It's like great, but there's more drinks, and so we can just continue this conversation off the microphones. I'd like to say huge thank you to Dan, and to Daisy, and to Jade for this conversation. Great chat. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I definitely did. I'd like to ask the Stepney boys, we should do this next year, I think, and then the following year. I'm interested to see what
You'll
happened.
be a robot
Yeah.
where you are in a few years.
Yeah, great. I hope that's fantastic because my knees are not going to be good, but I do think this is I don't know, the next couple of years are going to be interesting. So and then months, yeah. But I think increasingly so that we're actually going to be in a position where something like this with just 40 people sitting in a small room having a chat is going to be something pretty sacred. So awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. We can keep chatting.
Thanks for coming, everyone.